Alright, so to go along with the resizing of the brass video here, it needs to be mentioned um, the fact that these rounds were previously lubricated using a concoction that we came up with that's really good. So basically, without lubrication during the resizing process, these rounds are under, or these casings here are under an extreme amount of pressure for a hand operated piece of equipment. I mean, even this one has been resized already, and you can see the amount of pressure that's needed to actually resize this piece of malleable material here. What we did was I went to the auto parts store. You know, during the craziness here, you know, alcohol was being used in hand sanitizer, and rubbing alcohol was actually pretty hard to find when I was making this stuff. So the auto parts store has this fuel injector cleaner, if I'm remembering correctly, which is 100% alcohol, pretty much. I mixed it with this coconut oil, which is like a semi-solid. It's like a gel, pretty much, that I spray these rounds down with. I put them in this box actually, and I spray them down, and I stir them up so that every bit of the brass is lubricated. You can basically just wipe your finger across the piece of brass and look on it for the oil and be like, oh, okay, they're lubricated pretty good. The reason why you mix with alcohol is because you want the stuff to be sprayable, obviously, for your application method, and then you want them to dry out. So I'll spray them in that box, you know, stir them around, and then put them in front of the fan for a little while, maybe about a half an hour before the alcohol burns off and all that's left is the lube, and you know, the whole case is nice and covered. It needs to be said too that on the used press market, you'll find some people that don't ever get the lubrication right, and they'll give up on reloading because of this. It can't be understated the importance of lubrication, and especially in bulk reloading, when you're processing brass like 300-400 pieces at a time. Sometimes guys will go hard and they'll do like 1,000 pieces in one day. And keep in mind that if you're using military brass with a crimp, that's an extra process for the swaging. So we're talking about, for one piece of brass that's been once fired and you pick up at the range, this thing will go through the APP. If it's got a military crimp, it'll go through for the depriming and flaring process, because the first step of the process with this press will be to flare the mouth to get ready for the swager, because the swager's like a where is the swager? It's right here. So the swager will go, oh man, I'm gonna have to figure out how to do this. Let's see if I can. Basically, that will have to go into the mouth of the case. And you can see, let's see if we can situate this properly. That will have to go into the mouth of the case. So you see how close the tolerances are. So the first step of the process on this specific process here will include depriming the case and then flaring the mouth to get ready for this swager. Sometimes you won't have to use the swage. Sometimes you could skip that process, depending if you have like a batch that doesn't have the crimp on the primer. But anyways, you'll go through. I have to let's see. I have to deprime and open the flare on these military cases, and then I have to swage, and then I have to resize, and then finally I have to trim the mouth of the case, because during the resizing process, the brass will grow in length because, once it's been fired and like resized, it'll get longer. So I'll actually use a trimmer to trim this back down to length. That's a whole nother process that I'm going to show you, but that's four processes right there. Without lubrication, this simply wouldn't be possible, and without the right lubrication, it wouldn't be possible. I actually use this as Hornady case lube, unique case lube, and this is a well-known. It's like a good product. It's pretty common to find in use, especially with the single-stage reloading. But the first case that I run through the die will be I'll apply a thin coat of this to like season the die for the rest of the cases. Each person. If other people watch this video, if I was like a big YouTuber, they'd be like, "Oh, there's a better way. There's a better way." You'd have all the people coming in and being like, "Oh, this is what I found that works for me," and this isn't an uncommon combination to use. This is what I found that works. So, I mean, like I said, the unsung hero of reloading, in my opinion, I don't think it's a stretch to say, is lubrication and finding like right lubrication for what you're doing. That needed to be said to kind of attach this to the last video. Like, geez, lubrication is really important. So I wanted to bring that up. Also, with the die itself, I wanted to bring up real quick that this thing is reforming the whole case, inside and out. This decapping tool here, or this rod that goes all the way through the die. Actually, this is one right here. This will reform the inside of the mouth and pretty much the inside of the mouth. It doesn't reform the neck, but it goes in completely into the casing and make sure that the mouth of the casing is nice and round too, because sometimes those will get bent up from getting stepped on, or if you're running them through a machine gun. Some guns are more likely to actually bend the case mouth in, and the process of this going inside there is going to open that back up to spec. So this die is actually reforming the whole entire case, like inside and out. So that was something that I forgot to mention. I just wanted to add that on there. I know it's kind of boring, but completely relevant to the reloading process. If you're not running the right lube, you're going to run into issues. And like I said, up to the point where people don't get their formula and their process right, or don't have the time to. I'm not dogging on these people, but lubrication is vital. So there's that.